Hey there, good afternoon. From the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Gustavo Sagrero with a roundup of today's top stories. It's Friday, February 6th. We'll start with some legal news. A teenager who survived a deadly 2020 shooting in Seattle's so-called CHOP zone is now suing the city. Robert West was 14 years old when witnesses say armed protesters calling themselves CHOP Security shot him and companion Antonio Mays Jr. inside a stolen Jeep. Mays died from his wounds while West lost his right eye and suffered other major injuries. West's lawsuit faults the city for allowing the Capitol Hill organized protests to form after police abandoned their nearby precinct station. It also says the city's response to the shooting and later investigation were inadequate. West originally sued in 2023, but withdrew the lawsuit citing his medical problems. He refiled the suit yesterday, 1 week after a jury awarded the family of Antonio Mays Jr. $30 million in their own lawsuit. Some news from one of Seattle's biggest companies, the Society of Professional Engineering Employees in Aerospace, or SPEA, is pressing Boeing for answers now that the airplane maker says it's moving its remaining engineering work on the 787 Dreamliner to South Carolina. Union leaders say last week's decision will result in approximately 300 jobs being moved from Washington state. Now they want assurances from Boeing that none of their local members will be laid off. Boeing moved all final assembly of the 787 Dreamliner from Everett to South Carolina 5 years ago. But SPEA Executive Director Ray Goforth said in a statement he was blindsided by this new announcement. In immigration news, local law enforcement in Western Washington say some residents are mistaking them for ICE agents and impacting local investigations. More from KNKX reporter Freddy Monares.
Vancouver police say there were 3 incidents within 2 weeks where people interrupted police activity, recording officers and asking them to identify themselves. One of these happened while officers were staking out a homicide suspect. Police were forced to explain to the concerned citizens that they were not ICE agents. Troy Price is Vancouver's police chief. He says these distractions can give suspects an opening to escape.
Or assault one of our officers, or take someone hostage, or people do interesting things when they're forced into a desperate situation and they have to make a decision and on the spur of a moment.
Bremerton's fire department has also reported confrontations with people who believe they were ICE agents. In a social media post, the department says, quote, "These misunderstandings have led to aggressive confrontations in public spaces, including threats made toward our members." In Seattle, I'm Freddy Monares.
Residents in cities such as Vancouver, Tacoma, and Lakewood can call 311 to find out which law enforcement agency is involved with police activity. In the state legislature, for kids across Washington who are struggling readers, a type of book club for families is showing promising results. But state and federal budget cuts have slashed the program by 85%. Supporters hope for a turnaround this year. Amy Radel explains.
As with many book clubs, the Primetime Family Reading Program involves eating as well as reading.
We start off with a really simple meal, pizza or burritos. A lot of families are coming from school or work, and hungry tummies don't learn well.
That's Julie Ziegler, the head of Humanities Washington. She says the Trump administration and state lawmakers completely cut the program's funding last year. There's demand for 92 locations statewide, but right now they can only fund 20. She says these book clubs are intended for reluctant readers.
They've either decided reading is not for them, they're not good at it, they don't like it, and for whatever reason, interventions in the school have not helped.
Over several weeks, facilitators read books out loud to the group and lead meaningful conversations about them.
Teachers tell us that kids who participate in the program often jump 3 reading levels or more just over that 6-week period of time.
Ziegler is seeking $500,000 at the state legislature to meet the demand statewide. She hopes that some of the organization's federal funding could soon be restored. Amy Radel, KUOW News.
Some news from up in the mountains. The Northwest hasn't gotten much snow this year.
I was noticing this weekend, actually, from Seattle, it's very noticeable on both the Cascades and the Olympics, just from looking at them from the city, that there's not as much coverage as there usually is.
That's Karen Bumbacco, Washington's deputy state climatologist. The state has the 3rd lowest snowpack on record for this time of year. With climate change, that could become more normal, which means skiing might look different in the Northwest. But skiers like Jansen Slaughter are still making the most of it.
You just have to roll with it, and you can still find ways to have fun.
This season, ski areas have had to turn to machines to make snow or close steeper runs when there's just not enough coverage. Some more business news. The makers of ChatGPT are planning a big expansion in downtown Bellevue. The Puget Sound Business Journal reports San Francisco-based OpenAI has plans to occupy more than 270,000 square feet at City Center Plaza. It's unclear how many new employees might be brought on board. OpenAI has about 4,000 employees as of late last year. The company was reportedly drawn to Bellevue's talent pool and proximity to Microsoft. A Southwest Washington dog was just given a high honor. A Doberman pinscher named Penny was crowned Best in Show at the Westminster Dog Show this week. Oregon Public Broadcasting's Eric Newman talked with her trainer, who lives in Clark County, about what it was like.
Andy Linton got back from the Westminster Dog Show in New York City late Wednesday night. He lives in Brush Prairie. The experience, he says, was surreal.
Ask any athlete how win the NBA Finals or golfer to win the Masters. It's kind of along those lines for our little world of dog showing.
The title went to Penny, a Doberman pinscher that Linton has trained for the past 2.5 years. He says the win was especially poignant because Penny has kept him motivated while managing Parkinson's disease, which he was diagnosed with a few years ago. This is actually Linton's second Westminster win. His first was with another Doberman pinscher 37 years ago. I'm Eric Newman reporting.
Some good news for the Seattle Seahawks ahead of their return to the Super Bowl. Wide receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba was named the NFL Offensive Player of the Year. He and former Seahawks Shaun Alexander are the only two Seattle players to ever win that title. JSN isn't the only one celebrating this week. The biggest game of the year is only 2 days away as the Seattle Seahawks get ready to take on the New England Patriots. It comes about 12 years after the Seahawks' historic first Super Bowl win. That was an important day for the city of Seattle and the team's fan base, nicknamed the 12th Man. But it was also an important day for one mom, Mayan Bomstick. She was at Swedish Hospital and was in labor. She says the nurses made a special onesie with the word, the 12th baby, to be awarded to the 12th baby born that day.
My labor was taking forever. I remember one of the nurses that was trying to motivate me was like, if you can do it, you'll be the 12th baby. And I remember being like, I do not care. I want this baby out. I don't care about a onesie.
That onesie went to her newborn son, Samuel, and it's now an important family memento.
The day that the Seahawks won their first Super Bowl ever, I was the 12th baby born that day in that hospital. So that's a really special moment. And the Seahawks are my favorite football team.
Samuel has grown out of that special onesie. Now he's wearing a Seahawks jersey with the special number 12. He also just celebrated his 12th birthday on Monday.
Well, I like math a lot. That's probably my best subject.
Since he holds this special title, he says he's also feeling a little pressure.
It's kind of stressful, and I don't want them to lose to the Patriots. But I think overall it's a fun experience, and I'm really excited to watch the game.
Samuel and his family now live in Berkeley, California. Despite living in the heart of the San Francisco 49ers territory, he says his family will be hosting a Super Bowl party and will be rooting for the Seahawks. One more Super Bowl note. You may be experiencing some nerves ahead of Sunday's matchup, but one local reporter says the Seahawks have a veteran's calm ahead of the game. For a look ahead to Super Bowl 60, All Things Considered host Kim Malcolm reached out to Jerry Brewer, who writes about sports for The Athletic.
Jerry, welcome back.
Thanks for having me again, Kim.
It's great to talk to you this week of all weeks. And the last time we spoke, you were hoping for a Seahawks-Patriots final, and you got that wish. Here we are. So let's go straight to any of your thoughts on which team is primed to pull off a win on Sunday.
Yes, my wish has been granted. I get the rematch that really isn't a rematch because none of the players really remember that game.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of them were in middle school,
Yeah.
some of the younger ones when that game was played. So it's kind of crazy how much football is a young man's game. I think the Seahawks have a decided advantage in this game. And I think that the only thing that is going to deter them is if they commit some turnovers and put themselves in really bad situations and make life easier than the Patriots. I had other members of the media on Monday night when it was the first media availabilities for both teams come up to me and say, just walking in the building, it looks like the Seahawks are going to kill the Patriots.
Really?
That's how physically imposing the Seahawks look, just out of their uniforms in sweats.
Good sign. I like hearing that. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. What did you like about how the Hawks performed in the NFC Championship game against the LA Rams?
They won with the opposite hand. If they were right-handed, they won with their left hand. I mean, this is a team that is built around defense, but they had to win a shootout against the LA Rams. The LA Rams really the only team with an offense that has vexed Mike Macdonald's defense. And the Seahawks said, you know what? We're not just going to play conservative ball and try to hold these guys down. We're going to go for it. Sam Darnold had the best game of his career. Jackson Smith and Jigba had an incredible duel with Puka Nacua, the wide receiver for the Rams. You saw just how explosive and dynamic the Seahawks offense can be. You saw how stellar their special teams are. And even in a moment when their defense didn't play as well, you saw them make big plays at the right times. They were incredibly clutch in that game, even though they weren't spectacular.
You know, I don't want to jinx anything by talking about how great the Hawks have proven themselves to be, but what should we know about the strengths of the Patriots? How could they beat the Hawks if such a thing were to happen?
Well, they feel like a modern version of the Patriots dynasty, which is scary. It's very much those guys are going to do their jobs. It's a remarkable run from a team that was one of the worst teams in the NFL a year ago to now being in the Super Bowl, coached by a great defensive-minded head coach in Mike Vrabel. They do have the best quarterback in this matchup, young Drake May. Their quarterback from North Carolina is really spectacular. He's a guy, he can run. He's big and he's strong. He's got a big arm, and he has like a penchant for just that surprise moments, making big plays down the field. They are really going to test the Seahawks' discipline in a lot of areas, but especially that defensive backfield.
Well, the Hawks have had 2 weeks to get ready for their return to the Super Bowl. What are you hearing from players and coaches about how they're getting ready?
There is just a veteran's calm about these Seahawks, like they've been there before. It really feels just like another business trip with them. They have an incredible amount of respect for the Patriots. There has been zero trash talk from either side in the Super Bowl. It's actually been rather boring. I mean, you would think they were getting prepared for week 6 of the season and not the biggest game of their lives. But as long as the Seahawks' heart doesn't race too much, they are the better team. And if they can handle the stage, which they're showing a lot of signs that they can, I think they'll be prepared to play their best football game.
Jerry Brewer writes for The Athletic, and he's going to be at the Super Bowl on Sunday.
That's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Vaughn Jones. I'm Gustavo Sagrero. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. Go Hawks!